So, are you ready for today's session? Yes, okay, that's what I want to hear. So today, let me pass to you for our first speaker for today for the second session is Mr. Rene. Please come aboard.
Okay. Thank you, Izzat. Okay. Mic working well. Nice. So let me shortly say blockchain disruptors, what they are calling the session today. Blockchain disruptors, you may think, well, we disrupt the blockchains, or the blockchains disrupt us, or what about that? Actually, it is more that we want to disrupt the businesses and the business processes around us using the blockchain technology. So let me shortly explain the outline of what I want to talk about. Very brief outline here. Blockchain technology itself. What is that technology actually? Where did it come from? What does it solve? Then early blockchain development, looking at almost 10 years ago. Then going to some of the blockchain technology platforms. Further, talking about applications built on these platforms. And then I want to introduce the startup project, which is actually built out of this incubation acceleration space MDec. This is why I'm proud, particularly proud, to be here at MDec today, that I can talk about this one project, what we are doing, the LuxTag project. You see these banners here, and I'll explain much more what it is actually about. Next one. So blockchain, what is it actually about? Blockchain is a technology which is an engine for transactions, ledgers, but mainly it's a protocol. Looking at this protocol, I wrote here with this asterisk the information. Yes, it's a ledger where we maintain information, and information can be information containing values, ones and zeros, yes and no, but even information nowadays can be of value. Yes, this is very important because you are most probably familiar with the cryptocurrencies, for example, Bitcoin and others, which are actually information shared and stored in a right way using blockchain technology. Okay, I won't read these things which I wrote here. Most important point, this last one, decentralized network. The second last one, it's a chain of blocks filled with data. And once one block with data is finished, a block over time, it can't be changed anymore. We use these cryptographic elements and mathematics, hashing features, all this stuff. But today is not a technical talk. I don't want to talk too much about technicalities because, as I mentioned, I want to talk about technology, technology platforms, applications, and then my project. So open auditable ledger database, which these things allow innovative use. Then next one here, what actually does it solve? One of the main problems which are solved here are mistrust. Yes, people don't generally trust strangers. And if you think about it for monetary transactions, for example, when I look about this one here, like it's not only limited to money, but especially about money, you usually trust centralized institutions or only the people you know well. Now, looking at the blockchain technology, and what I want to emphasize now, when I was talking about building applications using blockchain technology, then it is not only about financials, about money. And this kind of, we call it social agreement, contract, rule set. This is what a blockchain technology platform is made of rules, which all the participants follow. This is not limited to money. I put in bold some other words here, identity, other things like voting. These things can be done on a secured blockchain ledger. And now the last chapter which I wrote here, I think you can get what I mean by that. These technologies or these features, what we are yet to build and to implement, these really are kind of a dawn of a new revolution, and we can even question the institutions, mainly the big corporations, the banks, the governments, and try to in some way redistribute or question their centralized power. At this moment, we need these trusted entities, because there is not a better way, or there has not been, before blockchain. So now the blockchain enthusiasts, as I am one of them, they believe that this technology has the power to disrupt very many sectors. And just saying here, how did it start? The start of this blockchain technology, the technology being the foundation of its first application, Bitcoin, let's call it here. Yeah, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, is using the blockchain technology to do this ledger keeping, the secured, decentralized ledger keeping. And this grew out of a need when in 2000 or the late 2000s there were issues with the financial crisis and the real estate price bubble where banks got burst, supported by governments. Maybe you remember this time, end of the 2000s. A group created a protocol which I mentioned, like a protocol rule sets. How can they synchronize their computers using the internet and manage transfers of value? This was the birth of the Bitcoin, which then started to be forked. We say forked, or started to be used. Its technology, the blockchain technology, started to be used for many other applications. But now, next slide actually shows us something more where it kind of really started, because many people say that the start of blockchain technology was with Bitcoin. However, the dream of that was already about 5 years earlier when Nick Szabo dreamed about this BitGold and a system, what could be nice if we can have a system where people can pay one each other without the need for centralized institutions. And this dream was there, and the first, like let's say, kind of commercialized or going public project was then Bitcoin. And now, coming to next one here, I just want to say early timeline, coming here from this years 2009, Bitcoin started, 2009, 2011, 13 came other features, other similar projects like Bitcoin. And 2012 came a banking-focused specialized project called Ripple. Other ones came in 2014, the project I am working with, the NEM project. Then Ethereum in 2015 got a proper start. These projects and many more are around. These ones are blockchain technology platforms. I want to make this a bit clear that the blockchain technology itself is the idea of recombining certain mathematical cryptographic features and the peer-to-peer computing, TCP/IP obviously, a combination of technology. This is blockchain. And then out of these combinations, you can invent your own blockchain technology platform. This platform groups supporters of this one technology platform to link up their computers to bring this peer-to-peer network to life. And these different symbols on the left side are the logos of some of these technology platforms. So I want to have this takeaway for you: blockchain technology platforms. Okay. Now, going on, Bitcoin, yeah, I just go a bit too fast. First POC, this is like a first value transfer payment network. Blocks are now quite full. Transaction fees are a bit high. Then there are upgrades right now happening that, an upgrade of the network, I won't go again into too deep here, called SegWit or Lightning Network. Regarding the Bitcoin network, it's old, it's one of the first, but now these upgrades happening will maintain the strength of this network as one of the pioneers in this blockchain technology. And just a few days ago, even the first company puts the people without internet access into the power of using Bitcoin. And when I read that, or I heard that actually from my developer colleague, he mentioned me, Rene, Bitcoin is now coming from satellites. Even the people who don't have internet can already receive transactions and Bitcoin payments. Wow, okay, I looked that up a bit more, and yes, there is one company already putting this Bitcoin network sending of the blocks of transactions, again, I won't be too technical here, to satellites, so it's available for people without internet connection. And it's open source, people can build their own radio receiver and receive payments. Cannot make yet, it's a one-way. But it's interesting so far. Okay, Ripple, again, I go a bit fast here because that's not the main thing we want to talk about. It's a payment network facilitating payments mainly between banking institutions. Main focus is to be fast, efficient, and easy, and for that reason it is partially centralized, and many blockchain enthusiasts don't really consider it as a true decentralized public blockchain network. So it is more focused at the banking sector, and for that reason can even be to a certain extent centralized by the company Ripple. Okay, next one is Ethereum. This is a very interesting one. They call it even a world computer. However, it's not really a powerful computer. It's in the very early stages. Why do people say it's a computer? This is because you can do smart contracts. These are conditional programming contracts where actions can happen based on other inputs. Yeah? If parcel delivered, release payment to seller, for example. Again, then you need these interfaces, how to feed in the data, but these things are possible. However, once you code this into the Ethereum blockchain, you need to be damn sure that you're programming without a bug, because this already happened in the past, that somebody created a quite sophisticated autonomous contract to govern something, and it was unfortunately buggy. Somebody then unfortunately even drained some funds out of that contract. But this is one of the learning curve points which we are going through. Then the caveat here, yes, contract need to be written very well. And last point about Ethereum. Nowadays, the Ethereum network has, one second, I go here back. Ethereum network is issuing, on the Ethereum network, issuing tokens. It's very easy. Now many startups are raising funds through these coin offerings. They don't do the IPO, hard to achieve, do the ICO. They are selling some kind of, pre-selling some tokens of value towards their project to redeem later or whatever, and they are collecting funds from the public to fund their projects. Now, in Ethereum, it's quite easy to have your own tokens. These tokens are called ERC20, it's a particular standard. Nowadays, there are 5,200 tokens. This is kind of coins again, like Bitcoins, Litecoins, all these little tokens of value. 5,200 as of today are issued already on the Ethereum blockchain. So the Ethereum blockchain technology platform is doing the accounting and the token management for all these other tokens. These EOS, Qtum, Golem, these are other projects, projects who did kind of fundraising through the Ethereum network tokens. Now, next one, NEM. NEM is the technology platform which we chose for our startup project to power our project LuxTag, because it has some particularly advantageous features, especially, well, the features come on the next slide, especially the second one from the last. This API calling feature. This is a feature where people can easily program their applications, talking about web applications, mobile applications, in a way that these applications don't need to communicate with a server which has a back-end database, a MongoDB, a MySQL, whatever. But now the applications can completely reside inside the client, means your phone, or means your web application, HTML and JavaScript, on your computer, because you can transact, you can do transactions, meaning like you can do voting, you can do transferal of tokens of value, whatever interactions with other people. You can do messaging, yes, send a message to another entity on the blockchain, to another address. You can do this without having an application server in the background. That's kind of a new way of developing and creates a model where you don't have the single point of failure, because the blockchain network with its thousands of nodes becomes your decentralized database. And the ease of tapping into it through API and further other features here, like for example the multi-signature feature, were very useful for the product what we are selling, the project we are doing. Well, this audit, this is one of the graphs which shows in the green color, the fifth from the bottom is fifth, sixth. NEM is written there as one project with very few bugs. Okay? When you look at the other projects which are written, for example, Ripple, Ethereum, other projects, they are quite complicated, quite huge code base where it's normal, yeah? It's can be expected from people coding. They sometimes put a bug in. It has been audited that NEM is one of the safest platforms, and this came out after we started building on NEM, but it confirmed us in building on NEM and continuing to do so because it's a safe platform. Okay, blockchain projects. I just mentioned some of the projects here. COMSA is a project for the exchange of these tokens. I mentioned these 5,000 somewhat tokens of different projects, but these tokens are not easily interchangeable if you want to buy and sell them against each other or against money. So COMSA is doing an exchange for these tokens. DimCoin has the ambition to decentralize and tokenize the trading of equity, of shares in stock listed companies. Other one, well, I mentioned NEM-based projects because NEM is my favorite blockchain. PacNEM, you can earn NEM by eating these ghosts, yeah, when you pay Pac-Man. So that's quite a cool project. So far, it gives you testnet ZEM. Yeah, ZEM is the currency which fuels, it's like the NEM coin. You can earn testnet ZEM. In the future, probably we can even change that one to real money worth NEM coins, the ZEM. NEM P3, well, this is a proof of concept for music, payment for music, downloading MP3s with digital rights management in mind and paying for the paid content. Next one, this is a cool project of a friend of mine. LandStead is this project. They are doing land registry on the blockchain. In certain countries, you cannot trust your government as much as you can in Malaysia. So people in some countries would love to have a system where they maintain their digital certificate, the private key for their piece of land, and they have the peace of mind because only them, when digitally signing, can transfer this piece of land. I have been approached by a group from India, from one province in India. They're inviting us to come over to run a test of this land registry. So very interesting project. And again, this is a non-fintech application. Yeah, if you heard about fintech revolutionizing financial things, and blockchain is often associated with that, this is a non-fintech thing. And then comes LuxTag. Okay, LuxTag. Let me talk about LuxTag shortly. And this LuxTag project is something what we want to portray as a showcase, as one of the early non-fintech meaningful applications of blockchain technology, because many people say, "Hey, blockchain, where is it used? Who implemented it?" We did. So, LuxTag project, as a startup project, we're looking at problems which we need to solve, and then we look at luxury item tagging, yeah, LuxTag. We look at luxury item manufacturers. They have obviously problems you see here, but these brands lose track. This point is one which maybe you didn't really realize. Once you buy an item, they can see that in the shop. You went into a shop, bought something, maybe they know your name or they know the town where you bought it, but then they lose track with the item. And if you ever sold the second-hand item, the manufacturer wouldn't know about this transaction and where the item goes. So what we do, in very short, proof of authenticity. We create digital certificates of authenticity. This is something like the little plastic card or paper certificate which you get with an exclusive item, with handbags or watches. So we put this one onto the blockchain ledger. Then we have proof of ownership, that we tag this to certain owners. And every transfer of ownership would be saved in the blockchain ledger. And through this tagging, we even ensure who's the real owner. If somebody stole your item, wants to sell it or give it to a pawn shop, they can't prove that they're the real owner. So then we create big data points for the manufacturers, And the manufacturers of the world are our customers paying for the solution to enhance the customer engagement and to do the proof of authenticity and proof of ownership. We are now doing one POC implementation, proof of concept implementation. Okay, how we do it on the right side, more important, because time is running up. We have brandable, updatable certificates, which are transferable, obviously, using the NEM blockchain and its specific features. This is one of the most important slides here, that we are scalable into other sectors. That's the beauty. We started with luxury items in mind, but thinking about vehicles, cars, service records being faked, or the mileage of the cars turned down and up, no, down always. Pharmaceuticals are being faked. Imagine, maybe you know, we could solve this problem by having every little strip of pharmaceuticals traceable by the manufacturers, by the clients, by the pharmacists. Okay, and LuxTag is not only an app using this technology, but it's a holistic solution where we combine blockchain tech, we combine this big data, what now is a buzzword too. So we have two buzzwords, yeah, blockchain and big data, and anti-counterfeit. And it's holistic and it's scalable, and this is why we are already being slowly even funded by angel investors, and we are very proud to get one Malaysian government grant later this month, the signing ceremony. Okay, then last one, key takeaways. As I mentioned, please be aware of technology platforms, and the applications, and obviously what you need and can get from us and from people around the ecosystem, the other 3 points here. And our other speakers now, which are Alexandre and Matej, these 2 speakers are very well representing, one of them a blockchain technology platform, which is the second tick, and the second person is an application, if I say it correctly, an application using a platform. Myself, LuxTag, from the application level. Okay, it was a pleasure speaking to you today, and I think I pass the mic on. Okay.
Thank you, Rene. So up next we have Matej from Descent for the next session. So how will you find out about today's session? Nice. So yeah, so how do you find out about today's events? Nice. Thank you very much. So we're going to start our next speaker for today. So please welcome Matej from Descent.
Thank you. Excellent. So we are getting my slides ready. So in the meanwhile, I would like to shortly, let's get to the first one, maybe. Does it work? So we can see my third slide actually, so maybe I can start from here, but there is some introduction, basically some introductory words I would like to tell you beforehand. Excellent. So this is the first slide. So all of you can see my name, Matej Michalko. I'm originally from Slovakia, but at the moment I'm based in Shanghai, in China. So today I would like to talk about blockchain, basically, yes, about blockchain. So about the future of content distribution using blockchain. So about use cases where blockchain can bring a real value. You know, a lot of people today talk about blockchain, but basically they just talk, you know, and few of them actually come up with a solution. No, but here is one solution. This is one real real solution. But I want to talk about real solution, from the business point of view, because if you have blockchain, such a disruptive technology, and there is no use for it, then what is it for? Yeah. So this is basically the question. So a few words about myself. So I've been in this industry for 6 years. So I started as a Bitcoin miner when Bitcoin was worth maybe $1 or $2, US dollars and so on. And then I sold most of my Bitcoins for $8 US dollars because I thought it's a lot of money. Yes, in late 2012. And then I looked at in April 2013, it went to 140. So I was saying, oh, I'm so stupid. And then again in November 2013, I have seen $1,200 US dollars. So I was saying, oh, Jesus, what have I done? But anyway, I managed to keep some bitcoins from the old days, all the dusty bitcoins. But basically, then I realized that bitcoins and all this ecosystem is not only about trading and coins and someone calls it speculation, and so on. But it's a lot about use cases, about bringing value to the business. Because many of you probably remember .com bubble, when you had kind of toys.com or pets.com, companies going IPO basically before releasing the actual product and raising 800 millions, and then what happened, yeah. And there were still few companies basically that stayed, such as Amazon and so on. Amazon started maybe 1994 or something like this, and we can see still Amazon, even through .com bubble. So in my opinion, if there is a real use case for a technology and this use case is validated by the actual business, then those are the companies that will survive, using this. So this is what I would like to talk today. Probably I will be mistaken, but I can be corrected afterwards during the panel discussion. So okay, so Decent. I'm for 2 years now. I started this 2 years ago. I'm a founder and CEO of Decent, which is a blockchain digital content distribution network. Okay, so it's a peer-to-peer platform, something like Bitcoin or Ethereum. We have miners, we have seeders. And the goal of this is to distribute digital content from basically one author to many content consumers without middlemen. So, I don't know, where is my clicker? Can we get to the next slide if there is someone who can click for me? Excellent. So, you can see the guy in the middle, yeah, the red one. Why is this guy red? This is the question. How is he different from the other two guys over there? So, basically, what is the most important about this guy, that he, or maybe she, I don't know, is standing in the middle, and he has kind of a special relationship of connecting the two other guys. Yeah, the two other guys are unable to communicate without going through the red guy. Yeah, and the red guy could probably be Amazon. Yeah, from this point of view. So just try to imagine you are a writer. You wrote a novel and you want to publish it. Yes, so what do? You just go to Amazon. Yeah, you go through the process of terms and conditions and so on and so on. You get to a price maybe $20 per your book, and you start your sales. Yeah, and then you sell. You are very successful. You sell 100 copies in the first week. So you should be getting $2,000 US dollars for the first week, but actually it's not the case with Amazon, because Amazon takes 40 to 60% in fees, in royalties. So you get about a half, yeah, in average. So you get 1,000 before tax. The rest goes to Amazon, yeah. And I can talk about music. I can talk about videos. I can talk about games. Apple. How is it called? Apple Store is the physical shop, or you have the Play Store and so on. And in China, for example, where I'm currently based, there are 13 different stores for Android phones. Some of them taking 80% from the game developers, and so on and so on and so on. So there are huge, money accumulated in the middleman hands, which is probably not necessary. And blockchain is one of the technologies that can disrupt this industry. Next slide, please. So you can see on this chart, on the top, in the black rectangle, you can see a number. It's 1,160 US dollars, and this number represents US minimum monthly wage, yeah, in the United States, $1,160 US. I don't know how many ringgit is that, but you can do the math by yourself. So, and this is, probably the wage, that maybe an employee of McDonald's or something like this is earning in the US, yeah? And imagine you are a music producer, you are a music author, yeah, you have a musical, band or something, and you want to sell your music. You want to earn money from it. So what do? So probably you can, start in the first row with the self-press CD, so you do everything by yourself. And in order, yes, exactly. So in order to earn the US minimum wage, you need to sell 143 CDs per month. Yeah? And then you go to the second row, there is some CD album, someone, that you need to get to 155. Then you can, read the album CD, you are at 1,100 and something. And then you go down I call it the middleman chain. Yeah, so you go down to maybe, Amazon iTunes, that's the fourth row from the bottom, yeah, the A and iTunes, track downloaded. So we need to have about more than 12,000 tracks downloaded in order to earn US minimum wage, yeah. And then you get to Spotify, very popular Spotify, and we are talking about plays per month, and you are at more than 4 million, yeah. 4 million. So 4 million people, basically, or 4 million times, someone needs to listen to your song in order to earn for you a minimum wage. So you do the math by yourself. Next slide, please. So, blockchain. Again, blockchain has been mentioned many times over here, explained, excellently by Rene. And I would only like to say that if you Google blockchain, you go on Google, you put blockchain, you get to Wikipedia, you can see a lot of stuff about it, a lot of terms. So one of them is security, immutability, trust, protection of authors' rights, decentralization, cost, effectivity, transparency, encryption, cryptography, peer-to-peer, Byzantine fault tolerance, smart contracts, automation, efficiency, and many more. So the thing is that all those terms can be explained by one word, blockchain. It includes all this. Yeah, so there are a lot of more. Next slide, please. So now I would like to, in a very high-level way, introduce some use cases of blockchain. So it's used in many things, smart contracts, we talk about this, digital currency, Bitcoin, e-commerce and so on, record keeping, healthcare. Many of you remember the WannaCry stuff, yeah, from a couple of months ago, where a lot of institutions, in particular in the UK, from the healthcare industry, have been compromised. Probably if they had used blockchain and a good record keeping, it wouldn't have never happened. And actually, the ransom for WannaCry was paid in Bitcoin. So basically, it can be also used by the bad guys. But I'm talking, it's a tool and it can do a lot of good. But of course, some people can misuse it. Of course, and they are actually doing it. So intellectual property. Yeah? Intellectual property. This is where we are. Decent content distribution and IP rights protection. And we are in securities, you can just go to Singapore, or Hong Kong, there are a lot of, you can hear a lot about this, debt financing, crowdfunding, very important thing. Ethereum, one of the, mainly the most important or the first really viable use case for Ethereum is crowdfunding. Yeah, it's like a decentralized Kickstarter, ICOs, initial coin offerings, one can raise money very easily without a middleman. Because if you take Kickstarter or Indiegogo, they are middlemen. They take 9%. Ethereum is not taking. So basically with Ethereum crowdfunding, all of you here, including me, we can support by cryptocurrency by sending ETH tokens to anyone. We can support a project and claim other ERC20 tokens or other tokens. So this is one of the first use cases basically in this industry. Now, this is the project I'm the founder and CEO of. So I was talking about the content distribution from one author to many content consumers. So it's one-to-many relationship, as you know, from the database and so on. So the author produces a content. It is music, video, software, anything. It gets uploaded to the Decent network and after distributed to the consumers. Consumers pay for it. Author is receiving the payment. Now, this is a little bit kind of a zoom in at the same. So you have author on the left-hand side, then you have content. Content gets encrypted on the author's computer, basically on the author side, or in JavaScript on client side. And then it is distributed, not over blockchain, but over a content distribution layer, which is independent from the blockchain one. If you put all the stuff in blockchain, 1 terabyte movie just wouldn't work for the blockchain. So we have another distributed storage layer, but the files get a reference in blockchain. It gets to the content consumers. The content consumers pay for it. So there is instant settlement. Yeah, the instant settlement, author gets paid basically in a matter of seconds. Yeah, we have 5-second block time, so it's maybe 5 or 10 seconds. The author can get paid. Just think about music industry. It takes sometimes 2 years. Now it is instantly. For Uber drivers, it takes, 1 week, I think it's the settlement. So here it's instant, basically. So, and then the file gets decrypted on the consumer side. So what is very important to note is that all the files are encrypted when they are distributed. So it's very secure. Next slide, please. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about data. That basically our business model is, this is non-profit. Yeah, Decent is non-profit. We have a foundation in Switzerland, and we raised some funds through an ICO, last year to build this. We launched it. I will talk about this a little bit later. But it's a lot about data, big data. There are a lot of data that becomes available to users. Basically, if you take, for example, now Facebook, the advertisement payment and so on, or Amazon, Amazon is the owner of all the data about you and so on, and they are monetizing this. In here, having a blockchain minimum viable data standard, you are the owner as the author. And so there are a lot of things can be done on top of this. Next time. So we want to incorporate blockchain MVD in our own format. So it's like .mp3 for music. So we will have .adct for audio, .vdct for video, and .tdct for text. And so it's basically the same as MP3, but it's augmented with more data. About the IP, about where it can be sold, and so on and so on. And it's referenced in Decent blockchain. And the Decent blockchain is basically recording all this. And then there is a way to check whether someone has a right to sell this in a particular market, for instance. Yeah, but there are many more use cases, but I don't want to go too much in details. Next one, please. So we are talking about tokens, Bitcoin, ETH, ERC20, DCT, whatever. So why would someone, buy it? So there is something called Metcalfe's law or network effects. And it is saying that the value of a network is proportional to the number of users in the network, to the square of the number of users in the network. Yeah? So n times n. Yeah? So if you have, for example, it comes from telco industry. Why WhatsApp has been sold to Facebook for so many billions of US dollars. So you can see this on some data taken from the public domain. Tencent, Chinese company, part of the Chinese big three, BAT, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent. So you can see that the value it's times n square, of something in the company. So there are a lot of research papers on this. The same applies to Facebook. So and I would like to show this on a chart of Bitcoin. So this has been done by a very big proponent of Bitcoin Cash. But I'm not, a proponent of Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. But this is just for your information. That is not my chart, so I'm giving him a credit. Basically, you can see the red line here, the red curve. So there is n squared again, where n equals the number of transactions per day, excluding popular addresses in Bitcoin network. Yeah. So this is some data taken from the decentralized Bitcoin blockchain. Yeah. So this is the red one. Then you have the green one, again n squared, where n is the number of unique addresses used per day in Bitcoin network. So it's again taken from Bitcoin blockchain. And then you have the black one, which is market cap, taken from bitcoinaverage.com, from a website, some trading data. So again, two independent sources. And this is the chart, between 2009 and 2014. So one can see some kind of positive correlation over there, but nothing else than a positive correlation, please. So, and this is me in Switzerland. This is in Geneva Airport, and it's a train station in Switzerland, and this is a ticket machine in a train station. And why am I putting this here? This picture was taken in end of November of last year, and the end of November of last year, Swiss Federal Railways, Schweizerische Bundesbahnen, Chemin de Fer Fédéraux, and I don't know how to say it in Italian. So this is the explanation of the 9 letters over there, but if you've been to Switzerland, you know what I'm talking about. You can basically buy Bitcoins at any train station in this kind of ticket machine, any. So you basically just come with your Bitcoin wallet, and you insert cash and you get Bitcoins. So, that's why we are in Switzerland, one of the reasons. Next. This is our office in Shanghai. We are in Jade Value Incubator in Luqiatsui, next to the TV tower. So if you are around, just tell us hello. We've been maybe the second company in this incubator. So it's a very famous, I don't want to brag, but a very famous fintech incubator. So if you are around in Shanghai, China is booming with this stuff now, and we have a lot of customers from there. Next. So now I would like to talk a little bit about products. So I mentioned we are for ebooks, for music, for Netflix, and for videos. So we work together with one ebook readers manufacturer that is going to connect his network of ebook readers basically to this end, or vice versa. We are connecting this end into there. Why is this guy doing this? Why is this company doing this? The reason is that they don't have content lock-in as for Amazon Kindle. If you buy Amazon Kindle, you basically can get officially the content only from Amazon. This is not the case for this guy because he is only selling the devices. So more content, more value. So the result will be very probably that there will be more content for a lower price as we get more middlemen out of the equation. The same applies to music, B2B, existing platforms, and same applies to streaming. You can just see Netflix. For example, I used to have a subscription in Europe, and I paid 10 or 15 euros per month. And for the same price in the US, I was able to get about, 60% more of the content over there, or even more. So Netflix is doing this, there is a discrimination based on the country. So we want to get rid of this and create a unified marketplace for digital content. Next slide, please. Now, this is how it looks. This is from March or April of this year, so it's a little bit outdated, but you can have the general look of one of the interfaces to this network. There is some content, there are payments, and so on. So we can go to the next slide. This is the publishing interface. So if I'm an author, I upload some content, then I choose the number of seeders. So this is basically a redundancy, how safe or available the data I want to have over there. This is the lifetime of the smart contract and the publishing. There is a small fee for publishing of any content based on the duration of the publishing, based on the size of the content. It's a difference to publish a 1 megabyte ebook and a 10 gigabytes movie, so it's obvious. And the number of seeders, how resilient or redundant I want my content to be. So basically the reason for this is a spam protection. We don't want to have others or some malicious users to spam our network, with some, if you offer transactions for free, this just wouldn't work. And this is an overview of an actual content of a file. So what is the most important to see in the top right corner, the 3 stars, 3 out of 5. So it's like you are taking Uber. I have seen Uber is kind of popular in Malaysia. So with Uber, you have the ratings of drivers, right? And you can see this driver has 4.84 out of 5, and you think it's a good driver. But the problem with this is that you actually, one can have this transparent, everything is recorded and everything is staying in the blockchain. So this score is real and everyone can see the transactions. Now, basically, with Decent enables entrepreneurs to build the next Facebook and Uber because it's open source, and if someone wants to do, you can use it for free. or fork it, or just take something from it, with GPL license, so you can play about it. And I will even show you the link where to get this. So at the moment we have much more, but I just featuring 3 independent third-party apps built on top of this. And so the first of them is PUBLIQ, and we have the CEO sitting over there. He will talk soon, and PUBLIQ is basically dealing with the reputation and the wealth distribution of independent writers. There are channels and so on, but Alex will explain it soon. Then we have ATM Chain. ATM Chain is a Chinese project from Nanjing, from Jiangsu province, from China. And they have 7,000 smart screens, basically located in barbershops all over, Zhejiang province and Jiangsu province, so all around Shanghai. I don't think they have many in Shanghai. They are basically selling targeted advertisement to the customers in there. So they have done their ICO, I think, 2 weeks ago, and it was the first ICO using this set. So this is ATM Chain. And now we have Sophia TX, which is a new project from the heavy, B2B business, SAP-like stuff, dealing with ERP, procurement use cases. So this project also will start very soon, and I believe there are some people from this project over here as well. And again, your project goes here, so we are available. So just to sum it up, we launched on 30th of June 2017, we launched a real product. We have genuine use in business. No POCs, well, there are of course some POCs, but this is not something we focus at. We have independent third-party applications. There are a lot of people building stuff even without telling us, but if someone tells us, Matej, I need this, so we can help them. And we have some vertical integration into existing business models, some in energy, and this is basically a POC level. So next slide, please. And here is the link where you can see all our source code and APIs and everything. So at the moment we offer functional and REST APIs, so even as web-based or the node-based at the level of operating system. Next slide, please. And this is it. So if you scan this QR code, this decent.ch, this is my email, my Twitter, and there are some locations, where we are available at the moment. So thank you very much for your attention. I will be available during the conference for any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Matej, for this session for today. So, yes. So, how are you guys doing so far? Okay, so, yes. So, now we're going to move for our third speaker for today is Alexandre from PUBLIQ. Please welcome.
Hi, good evening everyone. I'm very happy to be here today, and the reason is that I would have never expected the event I started to organize a month and a half ago would gather this much people. And I would like to thank someone in particular, Aaron. I don't know, where is he now? Aaron Ting, you're here? Because if we are all here tonight, it's somehow thanks to you, because you like the idea of organizing a blockchain for non-fintech use cases event, and then you introduced me Rene and the guys from MDec and Suraya and everyone. So thank you very much for your help. So now I think I should introduce myself before introducing what PUBLIQ is doing. So interestingly, I'm going to introduce you media projects, but I'm myself an ex-banker. Well, nobody's perfect. So, I was living and working in Hong Kong, and I decided in 2014-15 to basically move and work in the fintech space. So I founded 2 startups that were basically in charge of building proof of concept for banks, logistic companies, and insurers. And no need to tell you that I spend most of my time at the very high hype cycle explaining to people and bankers that the use case is not relevant with blockchain. They don't need blockchain. They need a distributed database. They need still decentralized database, but in a different way. So it was a pain in the ass, sorry for the expression, to work with them. And I very quickly realized that one of the most relevant use cases was not banking today. It might become a few years from now, I'm sure of it, but the media industry in general. So I want to give you a bit of background about why I started PUBLIQ. So, as all of you know, we are like 7.5 billion people today around the world. Around half of us have access to the internet. There's still a lot of efforts to be done for the world to access this internet penetration, but half of us around the world have access to the internet. There are some projects that are going to make this number get increased. SpaceX with Elon Musk, who wants to launch 4,000 satellites to provide internet for everyone. Facebook and their solar drones that wants to provide internet in Africa for free. So in 2020, I think that this figure will be completely in another league. So get ready for that. The second interesting part is that we all have today devices that connect us to the internet, that connect us to the media industry, social media, WeChat, WhatsApp, all this other way of communicating. And it's actually quite great because the internet broadband is getting faster. We do have internet in a much more larger way. And we have devices that cost around even $25. For instance, Mozilla Firefox made a smartphone at $25. And it's going to get cheaper and cheaper. And I'm pretty sure everybody in this room has a smartphone. I would be surprised if somebody doesn't have a smartphone. The second thing that is very good for our society, we do have more and more data that is coming to us. If some of you are familiar with the big data industry, you might have heard about this figure. Every 2 days, we create as much information as we did from the beginning of time until 2003. So this just shows you the enormous amount of data that comes to us every single day. Okay, and it comes on the internet, it comes on our devices, and it comes into our brain. So it's pretty important to make sure that the data that comes to us is somehow of a quality, or at least filtered at some point. It's gonna get bigger and bigger. Some of you might have heard about the Hadoop market, which is an open source framework that helped to process very large data sets. We have some tools to allow big data to get bigger and larger. Social medias currently are acting as a spider on the internet, because as you know, centralized media company are posting content on their platform, and Facebook, Instagram, and every other social media basically grab this data somehow for free and broadcast them on their platforms. And they not only grab this data from very serious or trustable media, but they grab it from everywhere. So you can call part of this data garbage because you have a lot of fake news and alternative facts that are coming from it. But at least these figures are very good because basically we have more and more data coming to us, we have internet, we have devices, so we should all be happy, right? However, there's one problem. Today we have reached or probably the lowest point ever of trust towards media. Here I picked these statistics and I talk about Ireland, Canada, and Colombia. I could have talked about any other countries around the world. I'm pretty sure if you ask the people what are their feeling and sentiments towards media, they will tell you that trust is really hard to basically have right now. And the reason is, obviously there is fake news and alternative facts, but the impact that it has on the society is quite huge. So if you talk about Donald Trump's election, for instance, and the rise of fake news, or if you talk about Brexit, where some of the polls that were published were not correct or not accurate, then the impact that it had on the society was pretty direct and pretty huge. You all know who's Donald Trump, and I don't need to talk about it. So there are some initiatives that are taken today to tackle that. Facebook, for instance, is trying to build an AI that combat fake news, or at least spot the fake news and make sure that they decrease the number of published fake news. The only problem that I see here is that why would I trust Facebook as a private company that has shareholders and that is American, for instance, to build this AI and tell me what's true or what's not? I like that idea. I just want to make sure that I can trust them. Right now, I'm not at Facebook, and Facebook is American and it has shareholders with political affiliations, etc. So I think that we can find better ways to combat fake news. Same for Google, trying to combat fake news from the search results. Google is doing something quite interesting in Africa. They are remunerating, or at least financing programs for African journalists to learn how to edit articles or to become journalists. The first question that comes to my mind is, who's going to pay these people, right? Is the internet model that we have today good enough to remunerate the authors that post content? Or is it broken? I think that today, I think all of you know, it's all incentivized about volume. It's all about volume, it's not about quality. So you just need to publish, and as long as you get the clicks, it doesn't matter if it's fake news or real news. people cannot even make the difference today. That's very dangerous. Then you get the volume, you get the money, and you're happy, right? So I think that the internet is kind of broken apart today, and it's pretty weird because we have a lot of technologies around us, AI, machine learning, blockchain, etc., that might be here to help us. Right now, today, we don't have this, and we have the lowest point of trust ever in the history. So there is obviously a problem. Apple, somebody else very famous, basically telling us what's the impact of fake news. Online media is educating us today. You can talk about Wikipedia that I checked from high school to today, every week basically, to any other platforms. It educates us. And I don't even need to speak about very young millennials that are educated through social media. So somehow we should be worried about it today, but it's a reality, and we need to find tools or to build tools that tackle this rise of fake news, alternative facts, and poor quality content. So there are a few other problems that everybody knows. Unfair publishing and payment practices. So it's very hard today to be an author of articles because when you get rejected for your article, sometimes it takes time and you don't get paid for it. So you can forget about having a fixed salary today. It's kind of a luxury. Over-centralization of the platform. So here we can talk about the technical side of it with the data that is centralized into these companies, and they basically decide how they want to post the content, and they can modify it whatever they want. The wealth generated is not transparently redistributed, so we don't know how many intermediaries are in between me as an author and the reader, and we don't know where gets the money made from the advertisement and the current economic model. Micropayment solutions. You might have read some articles on some of these websites where you can pay the article and pay the author. There's just one problem. Today with social media, you can find all the information for free. So we need to find a way to make the content free, but to make it of quality. And if you want to use PayPal to pay for, I don't know, an article or content today, that's great because you might pay for what you like. And at least people know exactly which author deserves to be, have a good reputation. The problem is that in terms of user experience, it's not convenient right now. And you don't want, as a reader, to pay for every article that you read. You want to have access to it, ideally for free. I already said it, fake news and alternative facts. It's even coming from the White House. It's not even me inventing this expression of alternative facts, and it's kind of scaring. So I think that if we can change the mind of human beings, telling them to stop using this kind of information, we might use technology to help us. And we have these technologies available. So how can we, there's no silver bullets to combat fake news. I don't think tomorrow we can create a world without fake news. I just think that we can harness the power of new technologies, blockchain being one of them, to basically restrain people from having this wrong incentive or making volume for money. Set a fair and transparent remuneration mechanism. Matej from Descent told you a little bit about Amazon or even all the other intermediaries and what kind of slices of the income they keep. Are they really relevant? Do we really need them right now? Somehow, yes, because they do some self-checking, etc. But if you take the example of Facebook, I think they make a lot of money and the users are not receiving any of them. And I think that we create an ecosystem where people are incentivized to post their content, to post quality content, and to have a reputation, basically. Set the remuneration depending on the reputation. I'm going to explain it. And finally, it's relevant for the media industry the same way it's relevant for the fintech industry or any other industry you work for, user experience. If you create or if you have a project or a startup and your UX is poor, or if it doesn't inspire your trust, then you can forget about it because people don't want to use something that sounds, shady. So blockchain. I'm going to be the third person trying to explain, but I'm not going to go into details. I just like to explain it this way to everyone, basically, specialist or not. For me, blockchain is about three things. So before being a technology, it's a technique. So it's a technique of encryption where blocks of data are tied one after the other and are hashed. They have a cryptographical code. Okay? Then it's about distributed ledger, which means you share this same blockchain everywhere into a network. You can talk about Bitcoin or any other blockchain network. You have a blockchain, it's shared, and everybody has a copy. And every time there will be transactions, the network through a consensus mechanism, will validate if what I'm giving you is really mine, and if I haven't given it to somebody else before. That's it. And it's as simple as that. And it's for a very smart algorithm, and this is what we call general blockchain technology. And the third thing I want to mention is smart contracts. So some of you here know about Ethereum, I heard about it. And they have been the first one basically to implement smart contracts and to propose people, any one of us, to build their own smart contracts. So what is smart contracts? It's not that smart actually. Smart contracts are just pieces of code that automate executions of actions. So I've been coding macros in banking, and when using VBA, you just work with the logic. If this happened, then that happened. Okay, it's pretty easy. But why do we call them smart here is because they are immutable when they are in the blockchain. And when me as a company, I agree with the other company that I will receive these funds when the goods will arrive at the port of Shanghai or wherever, and we fix it on the blockchain, and it's disseminated into the network, somebody cannot come back on it. It's there, it's gonna happen automatically. So think about back office, middle office, discrepancy management, etc., etc. And here you might think also about banking. There is a potential, but there's a long way to go and a lot of work to do with regulators. But that's another topic. Use cases, I think it's the third slide we see today with this pretty much same architecture. There are a lot. I could have put like use cases until the world there. What I want to say is that as I spend some of my time with bankers explaining why it's relevant to use blockchain or not, it's very important to just realize when do you need blockchain. I mean, some banks ask me to build a blockchain POC for the KYC mechanism. KYC is about like client screening, client profiles. And the thing is that they wanted to implement it into their own entities, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore. It's very simple. It doesn't make sense to do that because people trust each other into this network. They're in the same company. So why then you don't use a distributed database, right? So think about blockchain as a way to destroy the lack of trust and bring trust into an ecosystem. An ecosystem where people don't trust each other, don't know each other, and they want to use a database or systems of data processing that basically empower and build the trust itself. So what's PUBLIQ? What are we doing? First, we are based in Switzerland, and we have like a team in Eastern Europe, in Slovakia, in Armenia as well. I'm based in Hong Kong. And we're trying to build an environment, basically a free media environment with no self-censorship, and that is not centralized. And it's a blockchain-based decentralized digital content distribution network. Sounds a bit like what Matej says, but this is why we also rely partly on the Decent platform. I'm going to explain it. And we focus on news and articles. And then we try to basically reward people depending on one thing, their reputation. And that reputation is set depending on the readers. And that's it. It's no private company, it's no shady intermediaries or opaque structure that decide about it. The readers decide who's the best, or at least who provide quality content. And you might tell me it might be fake news. It might be, but I think that if you make an accountable every single offers, and if you tell them that whatever happens on the platform is immutable and gonna create a lifetime reputation, I think that it will responsibilize more than one of them. And that's the objective that we wanna reach. And to do that, we're going to use the same way Decent use DCT, our own token that's going to be used for different features that I'm going to explain. So it's not just about rewards, it's also about different things. So that's a big picture of the platform. To explain it very quickly, the same way you post the content on Decent and it's encrypted, here in PUBLIQ, you're going to post your content, it's going to be encrypted, stored. The content itself will be encrypted and stored off-chain, and the hash of the content onto the blockchain. Because, as a reminder, blockchain is not meant to store every kind of documents. If you think about legal documents that are 100 pages, etc., don't think about blockchain. Think about another way, where you store the hash of the content, for instance. Once this content is encrypted and stored by the seeders, we basically give a free access to the readers, who provide their feedbacks and just view these articles. What we do is that we build on top of it our own structure that collect these feedbacks, and every single 24 hours, basically we calculate the reputation of offers, and we just update it, right? So it's set on the blockchain, and it's a lifetime reputation. So if you mess with the articles, if you do something wrong, then it's gonna stay. So you better work on your articles and make sure that you provide quality content, or at least even true content. So as explained just earlier, we are in the app partially using a decent protocol. And again, our ambition is pretty simple. We want to build a free platform that provides free articles, but that change the incentive and move it from volume to quality. So I mentioned lifetime reputation. I think it's the most important thing. I said it, content needs to be free. People want the content to be free. Okay, that's a great thing, right? But how do you make sure that this content is not fake news or it's not, diverging from the reality? Okay, using blockchain is one way of making sure that your reputation is there and is not gonna move. If you wanna make it better, it's up to you to work for it. But depending on what people think of you as an author, the other authors or the other readers might know who you are as an author. They might trust you, or they might know what are your political preferences, etc. I think it brings a little bit more of trust here, because there's no intermediary into this ecosystem. It's all about authors and readers. And only the readers can decide again about these reputations. So it's very quick workflow describing what happens. I just want to emphasize on channels, because my goal is not to disrupt this provider, to rely on a platform where they can even post their articles and have just free people from everywhere checking them. And what it's going to do is that it might create a new way of remunerating their own authors, right? So they are not going to disappear with such platforms. I think it's kind of helpful for them to make sure that their own authors can have their own salary remuneration from these companies, and they can also have the chance to be judged by the public and to have that reputation that is basically possibly shareable on the internet, and you can just say to everyone what you are worth in such a free platform, basically. So it wouldn't be possible to create such a platform without like different very important participants. So I said that we do remunerate authors, right? And you might wonder where tokens come from. Is it created from the sky, from the blue? No. Actually, there is a business model behind it. So on one side, you have the author, obviously on the other side, the readers that can access to the articles either on the channels that can use API to basically post the articles, or on the public interface directly. Then you have the seeders, somehow relying on the decent protocol, where people that have free storage space can share their storage and can also make money from it. You have the nodes that basically are going to mine first on one side every single seeder's action, and on the other side every single transaction that will be made through smart contracts for the rewards, because offers are going to be rewarded not by a back office, not by somebody, but by the smart contracts and the blockchain itself, depending on their reputation. And advertisers, they have a very important role. It's a non-profit foundation. I might have to remind it again, but basically whatever we get from advertisers, we're going to redistribute it to each of the participants that manage to help us to sustain the platform. So all of them here are basically helping to sustain the platform, especially, of course, the authors that post their content and that deserve to be rewarded fairly. Seeders, nodes, and channels as well if they participate in posting their content. So it's all about a community here. It's not about just us disrupting the whole market. It's really about the community. So just to summarize what we do, we use blockchain in two ways. The first one is about encrypting the content and sharing it all over the blockchain to make sure that it's immutable and it's not going to be modified by any narrow or opaque third party. We also use it to reward people using smart contracts. So we collect the reputation, we have it embedded into our blockchain, and we use smart contracts to send the tokens to whoever deserves it, whoever mines, whoever seeds content. Independence. Obviously, if there is no centralized third party in between that censor the articles, it's going to be an independent platform where readers can give their feedbacks, and this is what's going to represent the reputation. Advertisement. Well, what we propose to advertiser is to basically use the same kind of AI they have been using so far to post their ads. But right now they go through third parties like Google, but to directly post it on a platform where they can be sure that 100% of what they share is transparently and auditably distributed to the participants. Web distribution, I said it, it's all about smart contracts and rewards management. Reputation is key here, and PUBLIQ is made basically to create a better reputation management. So again, I said it's very important to that it is anchored into your minds. Utility token. So how do you post an article? You're gonna use the token, a little bit of token, or it can be worth like $1 to post your article just to avoid spamming, right? Because if you can post for free on the platform, you can post thousands of spams, make a fake reputation, collect your tokens, and just, you know, leave whatever platform you are working on. So we have some anti-spam mechanism, and the token is also here for that. Then the token is also representing rewards, and also allow advertisers to post their ads on the platform. So whatever goes into the platform goes back to the participants, depending on what they do and how they deserve it. Channels, I explained their role. They can broadcast the content or post it. And very important is the community. So how do you make sure that the free platform is not a platform where violent content or offending content is, you know, on the rise or spiking? So basically there is a community of authors that have a good reputation and that can be part of the community to self-check articles that would have raised some flags. So if there is an article that is violent or against somebody, then it might raise some flags, and the community will self-check and either warn the author or even ban his access to the wallet, for instance. Okay, and that's it for me. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Alexandra. Now we move on to the next speaker for today is Miss Suraya. Please welcome. So after the session, we have a panel discussion. After this, will be moderated by our digital specialist economist from MDec, Mr. Atasha Alias. So stay tuned for more action for our blockchain disruptors. Now let's hand off the mic for. Hold on. So hi, Suraya, how are you today?
Good, thank you. How are you guys doing today? Are you okay? All right. So while they're searching for my slides, I just want to have a quick sense of, yeah. Oh, thank you, Sam. How does this work? Okay. Okay, I just want to have a sense of in the crowd, who here are Bitcoin users? You all are like sitting in front and behind, all right? Who are Bitcoin, use other types of cryptocurrencies? Also front and behind, okay. The ones in the middle, what do you do? Just kind of, I heard about this blockchain thing, I'm just here to kind of check it out. More or less? More or less, okay, I see some nods. Okay, so basically, while they have my slides up, I just want to clarify a little bit about blockchain. What they have done is to describe the application and also the platform. Some type of blockchain applications or network, they are kind of like on a single layer. So Bitcoin, for example, it has a singular purpose. It's a currency. It's designed as a peer-to-peer money, right? So it exists on a single layer. Some of them are blockchain platforms that you can build another type of blockchain application on top of it, right? So for example, LuxTag, NEM is the platform, LuxTag is the application, Decent is the platform, PUBLIQ is the application. It works kind of like that. So far, I don't know any cases where it's kind of like third layer. So if anybody knows that, please let me know. But theoretically, I think it's possible. It should be possible because it's all about coding. Anybody here doing any type of startups or planning to do any startups in the future? Okay. There is a book called Blockchain Economy Model. And inside this book, it lists out all the different types of applications that blockchain can be applicable for. There is a huge disparity. There's a lot of fintech startups and applications built on the blockchain platform. But if there's one thing and one thing only that I want you to take from this, from today's session, is that blockchain can also be used for non-fintech startups. Yay, it's up. No, go back. Go back, go back, go back. Sorry. All right, so obviously you're here today because you want to know, I don't know how this works. Tag guys. Thank you very much. Okay, obviously you want to know today because you want to know how blockchain works for you, is that right? Yes, right? Yes, okay. Just a little very short introduction. I'm here today representing Access Blockchain Association Malaysia. We are a newly developed blockchain community, and we are very much agnostic in terms of what type of blockchain applications or networks that we promote. For example, I am very much pro bias Bitcoin. We have a lot of investors inside the community. We have people from Zcoin, Monero, Dash, NEM, etc. But what we do, we try to implement a lot of education type things. Today, I'm just going to give you an overview of the different things that blockchain might be applicable to you, and also the different opportunities that are available right now. I have boiled it down to 3. There may be more, but this should be good for starters. Is that cool? Cool. There you go. Okay, that's what we do. Our website is access-org.my. We are the sister association of Access Singapore, and we have another brother, I guess, in Ukraine. Well, you have learned about at least 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 that was mentioned throughout today. You have heard about LuxTag, you have heard about PUBLIQ, you have heard about, sorry, was that one? Decent? And maybe some of you also have heard about like Ethereum and smart contract and all these other things. But I just want to focus on what we have already in Malaysia. As Rene mentioned, there are thousands of different companies worldwide already doing blockchain applications, blockchain platforms. But I just want to focus on what's available in Malaysia right now and how you, especially those of you maybe doing startups, can perhaps serve some gaps that are available and is needed for the nation. Yeah? Okay, well, you've heard about LuxTag. Rene is there, like clapping by himself. Ataplus.com, some of you might be familiar with them. By the way, I have no stakes in any of these companies. I do not have any interest in them. But what Ataplus is one of the recognized crowdfunding platforms from BNM, Bank Negara Malaysia. They do equity crowdfunding. They have recently, when I checked out their website, I found out they are doing their platform on the blockchain platform. So this is one application. And then there's Hello Gold, built on the Ethereum platform. What they do is they provide investment, gold investment for Malaysians. They like to say that you can invest in gold from just RM1. As you know right now, like how do you buy your gold? Maybe like from the banks or maybe buying like gold coins, and that cost hundreds of ringgit. And what they do is they provide a cheaper, more cost-effective ways for Malaysians, especially from the lower middle income group, to access gold as a type of investment for them. So that's cool. Etherscan, not many people know this, but they are actually a Malaysian company. They are what we call a blockchain explorer. They track all the different types of transactions that happen on the Ethereum platform. So check them out. This is one of the go-to websites if you are interested in Ethereum. All the different types of transactions are in there. Very, very handy. A lot of APIs, a lot of information. Go ahead and check them out. Right, so my point is that while there are a lot of applications out there, a lot of them are focused in fintech industry. And I would like to perhaps find out a little bit more about your industry and see how we can perhaps implement blockchain inside your industries. So let's look inside the opportunities that are available. Opportunity number 1, just now, those of you who put up your hand, maybe you want to do a startup, maybe you are doing right now, maybe you're trying to look for a platform that you can build it on, things like that. I would say try an experiment with different types of blockchain platforms. We have mentioned Ethereum. There's also Alias. They're built on Java. Ethereum uses Solidity as the coding. Whilst NEM, what the analogy that was given to me is that if Ethereum is HTML, NEM is WordPress. That's the kind of analogy that they gave to me. I don't know if that's correct, but that's what was given to me. A little bit easier to understand that way. Now I should probably also insert Decent also up there. That's also up and coming, so please check them out. Well, number 2. You all have heard about blockchain this, blockchain that, and how it's going to transform the world. I firmly believe that blockchain is going to transfer the world in the back end. At the back end, there's a lot of components involved in the blockchain industry. One of them is hardware. So we will say distributed ledger technology is basically keeping data, and data have to be kept somewhere. So the point that I put here is hardware. You need somebody to maintain the servers, set it up, put GPU, put coolers, because they produce a lot of heat, a lot of energy. So people who have technical expertise in all this hardware, people who produce them. Some of you who are, anyone of you inside the gaming industry? Maybe, or not an industry, who plays games on like CPUs and stuff. Are you guys not annoyed that the price of your machines have increased like a lot? I'm so sorry. Okay, so basically what has happened is that miners have bought all of this equipment, what was meant for the gaming community, and kind of made it their own, and now the stock prices of NVIDIA, for example, have gone really, really high. So there's a lot of demand for hardware-related things when it comes to, for example, these kind of things. And then there's also services. For example, there's a lot of demand for people who knows how to do installation, rigging, doing consultation, how to put what wire to what. Specific, if you've seen videos of how people do Bitcoin mining, you have seen that there are very specific infrastructure in place. That's also another type of consultation. There's also people doing consultation for private blockchains. That's another type of service as well. Implementing different types of, different areas of blockchain into that kind of industry. But what I want to stress here is that non-tech native are especially welcome inside this industry. Personally, I am a communications major. Blockchain industry is, there's a lot of tech people inside it. Who here is not from the tech industry? Oh, the rest of you all from the tech industry. That's amazing, actually. Okay. Well, non-tech native, for example, myself, communications major, I provide a lot of writing work for blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency companies. People from the finance industry, of course, definitely fintech is always very popular for blockchain implementation. There's also people from the accounting sector. I know now there's a lot of demand for tax accountants who can calculate profits received from cryptocurrencies, for example, things like that, how to do calculations. Designers who provide services for these kind of companies. I think that all types of industries can be applicable. So definitely welcome. I think there's too many tech people anyway in the industry. Okay, opportunity number 3, self-learning for your own career and potential investment. I think this is the most interesting. You don't have to be involved in the blockchain industry in order to be part of it. That's what I believe. So people who have specific qualifications and know at least about, it's like one more feather inside your qualification cap, right? There are places online where you can get certifications. There are open source learning platforms. GitHub, for example, you can find different types of APIs, all for free. Coursera, there are paid and free. There are also paid courses, free courses. The Princeton online one is a paid one, but the MIT OpenCourseware one, if I'm not mistaken, is a free one. So go and check them out. They come from really reputable universities. There's also courses on Udemy, plenty of them. So go check it out for your own careers. Right here in Malaysia, we have BlockTag. BlockTag is, they do education, they do many things inside the blockchain industry. They do, on one hand, they do education, they do an academy. On another hand, they also do consultations for companies and things like that. Earlier this year, in April, they have done a conference. They're planning to do it annually, so go check them out. They invite many speakers from the industry to come and talk about different types of things being worked on. So please put it inside your calendars. I think aside from that, there's also a few more academy centers who are also kind of dabbling and offering blockchain. There's quite a lot of demand for it. Aside from that, NEM. If you have not heard the news, NEM is doing a blockchain center. It's going to be, they're planning it right now, they're building it right now. It's going to be launched, they say, in November this year. Any of you from startups who are planning your own applications, they have $5 million USD to support early stage startups that are built on the NEM platform. So that's one avenue that you can go to. They have open working centers and all that. But aside from that, if you just want to know about blockchain casually, if you just want to know about cryptocurrencies casually, you can always go to our page. This is a screenshot. It's a little bit blurry, but basically what's over there is that we post the latest events, not just ours, but also the different types that's happening. It's mostly concentrated in Klang Valley, but if you do plan to have your own meetup or your own hangout sessions anywhere around Malaysia, please do contact us, and then we can also put it in so that many people from your state can learn as well. And this is my favorite type of self-learning, and this is basically how I got started in the industry. Because you all are at Magic, right? You all like to you all like hands-on learning, right? Right? Yeah, you guys love hands-on learning, right? Like learn on the process, right? Okay, so how I personally started is that I started with blockchain, with Bitcoin. It's the easiest one to learn. There's a lot of courses available on it. It has the most mature ecosystem, so there's a lot of education materials on it. So I would say it's the stepping stone that you do before you explore other types of cryptocurrencies and blockchain platforms. And once you understand how it works, how to buy it, how to process it, how to keep it, how Bitcoin miners keep it, how the ledger works, you can kind of have an understanding of how blockchain works. And once you do, and you explore other types, you can kind of understand, okay, so this is how it works. So when I say hands-on learning, I don't think there's a better way than to put your money where your mouth is and start looking at different types of cryptocurrencies and kind of find out what they do. Some of them are very much clear-cut currency because BNM don't regulate it or recognize it as currency. Some are platforms like Ethereum and Decent. Some are, they do social media. Some are privacy focused. So you can see all the different types and see which ones that you like, and you can try to get a little bit of that. And once you do, you will kind of understand how the kind of ecosystem works and how it relates to each other. You will see what type of platform is built on what. You will see what type of application is related to which founders and things like that. So right now, it's fairly small as far as industry goes. It's growing for sure, but it's still fairly small. So I think there's still a lot of time that you have in order to kind of get in from the beginning and find out the history in the making, more or less. And if you want to learn about Bitcoin, I have a guide online. Just Google Bitcoin Guide Malaysia, and it should come up inside my website. Right, that's all I have. Contact us at contact@access-my.org. I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Suraya RR. Or on the last point, you can email me at this address. And I look forward to your questions during the panel session. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, hello, hi guys. Thank you for staying until now. So now we will start our panel discussion moderated by Atasha, Alias, the digital economy specialist from MDec. So without further ado, let's begin.
Digital Hub. So this is actually part of the project to nurture more startups, more technology startups. So today, actually, Suraya's slides was very, very good. Actually, that is also the reason why many people left, because she actually grabbed the essence of it, like what's the next step? What's next? You know, after we heard all these events, we heard about I personally heard about blockchain is, if I may to summarize it, we heard that we know blockchain is beyond fintech, can disrupt so many industries, and use cases have been proven that it has disrupted media, supply chain, and all others. We get it, So And then another case is that now I'm excited. How do I start? So Suraya brought the slides where people can start by hands-on, where you can go to online portal, Coursera, and all that. It's very good. Right now, my question is, I'm going to start this panel with a very easy question. Like, can you share with us your favorite source of information where you always keep yourself updated with the recent use cases of blockchain, and where do you actually go as a trusted website? Maybe we can start with Suraya.
I can't say that it's fully trusted, but my go-to is always Reddit. You're on Reddit as well, I see. R Bitcoin, R BTC, R cryptocurrency, as well as the R-R, NEM, R everything else is my go-to.
I think maybe as I live in Hong Kong, there are a lot of events I always try to get to these events, either it's Hyperledger or Ethereum, and just to get aware about the updates. But otherwise, I do like everybody. I check the white paper of interesting projects. I try to understand what kind of consensus protocol they have. And of course, sometimes I type on Google as well. So CoinDesk is one of the sources I like to read, and Forbes has some good editors as well.
Yeah, basically likewise as Alex, the easiest way is probably go on meetup.com. It depends, in which country you are. In some countries there is not this platform, and just put their blockchain, or just Google blockchain meetup. So this is basically where you can meet people that are interested in this, and some of them have some more knowledge, and some of them have less knowledge, and so on. So you can discuss. And what has been also mentioned, white papers. This is very important, to read this. There are more technical white papers, more business white papers. It depends. But this is, if you want to really deeply understand the stuff, with everything, this is where the information is. Where all the gems are in white papers, and in the, also read the references. Very important. If there are some references into white papers, so go through those references. We can learn a lot from this, from the small text, with asterisk, as Rene, used in his presentation. So this is exactly where you can get a lot of information. And if you are interested in news, there are a lot of websites. Just Google blockchain news, and you can find a lot of stuff about this.
Okay, about me, I was introduced into all these blockchain news by Magic, actually. By Magic, because when I came to Magic in the beginning of 2015, they said, hey, you want to work on your startup inside Magic, you must install Telegram Messenger. Telegram Messenger is the thing we use in Magic to communicate amongst each other. Fine, I did so. And then I learned, wow, Telegram messaging groups for the different interest groups are very vibrant. And now I choose projects I am interested in. Obviously, for me, that's mainly different groups around the NEM Blockchain Technology platform. Of course, I am interested in other blockchains too. But so I joined maybe 10, 20 of these chat groups. And actually, the articles from Cointelegraph, CoinDesk, and other these websites which you possibly wanted to hear now, these links, the deep links to the articles, are being shared very fast and filtered quite nicely by the community members in these chat groups. So I don't surf to these portals anymore since 2015, but I just follow up on the chat groups and then read the articles directly wherever they are.
May I comment about chat groups? Chat groups, in Telegram, there are a lot of groups with a lot of users, thousands of users. For example, NEM must have, thousands of users. But sometimes, the flow is really fast, and then you lose track, or what is there basically. So maybe Slack channel could be a little bit more appropriate. So you can go on a project site as NEM, or Decent, or other projects, and just to see the Slack channel, and it keeps stays a little bit better. But maybe forums are also a good resource, such as Bitcoin Talk. You can find a lot of information there that is basically static, right? It doesn't change, as in those groups. So just my few cents.
Okay, so let's pick the brain right now. So I'm going to try to hack on your brains. So I'm going to open these questions to any one of you. So we are talking about how we derive to today. what's available on blockchain today and use cases. Probably you can share your own opinion in the next 1 year or 2 years. How do you feel in terms of the take-up rate, in terms of corporates that is implementing blockchain or probably in the government sector? Because if you see from the slide presentation, we have seen like the governments in Switzerland, this in public initiative that you can exchange Bitcoin. And we also seen Estonia and few other cases where not only government but the corporates should benefit out of it. And also a lot of startups, when they pitch, if you realize that they also, most of them are the intermediaries. In a way, blockchain is also eliminating these startups. So if you call yourself innovative and you are playing at the middle space, your business, your innovative business might also get disrupted. So probably in your opinion, any one of you can share like in the next 1 or 2 years, what will be the acceptance? What will be the trend?
I think it depends of first the industry we talk about and also the regulation in that country as well. It has an impact. So we have seen currently recently that the SEC in the US published a paper saying that some of the ICO tokens are going to be considered as securities. So this is a sign that the industry is on the way to change. Now, if I take banking, for instance, of some very regulated industry, 2016 was the year of proof of concept. We were saying 2017 is the year of the pilots, and then we're going to have the first products in 2020. I'm less optimistic than that because I think that there's a lot of talk towards regulator standards. How do we make sure that if we implement a trade finance letter of credit blockchain, all the other participants will accept it? There's a lot of talk to be done, a lot of democratization. So I think that starting from 2020, we might see the first use cases that becoming really live when it comes to, say, banking. But the first one for me is about supply chain, and I think that Rene is the expert of the day. And it's about food traceability in China, for instance. A lot of problems, traceability of luxury products, of traceability of healthcare, etc. This is an issue that we can solve right now, and that has really impact on the health of people. So obviously there is a problem, there is a solution, and there is a need. So I think that there is a real potential on that.
Yeah. Okay. So in 2016, in August, so exactly 1 year ago, I was a speaker at one conference in China. It's in the city of Qinhuangdao, which is about 300 kilometers from Beijing, and it was organized by a government agency of Chinese government, and it was about smart energy. The topic of the conference was smart energy. And I was one of the speakers, and basically there were 10 speakers, and 8 out of 10 presentations over there were about the blockchain in energy. So everyone was building some kind of blockchain solution for energy. There were a lot of projects presented. And the thing to note here is that in China there is a very strong top-down approach, from the government to implement blockchain, to innovate. So they are pushing in from the top, and probably during the deregulation, for instance, of the energy market in China, that would happen soon at the industry level. Because, for example, in Europe, a lot of people, companies are Great Singularity and energy blockchain foundation or whatever. They are talking about the peer-to-peer, from bottom to the top, but in China it's really top down. So governments definitely have power in this. So especially centralized governments, yes. So if there is a political will, to implement something, to innovate, I think it could happen pretty soon. And in some countries it already happened, Estonia and so on. Their ID, there are some POCs on blockchain really in Ukraine, in Odessa, I call it province or whatever. They had. What was it? A tender platform, for transparent tenders. When the former president of Georgia was the head of that province. But I don't know how it went afterwards. But there were a lot of a lot of activities in this area. So I think it will come pretty soon. But China could be one of the countries. We don't hear much, at least outside of China. I don't know, maybe in Malaysia we hear much more. But for instance, in Europe or US, we don't hear much about this. But there are a lot of things happening over there.
Just a short one. We are a bit forgetting about the cryptocurrencies, which is one of the applications or the use cases. International remittances, store of value. These things, yeah. This is one application of blockchain, one of the first meaningful applications where trust was needed and not there, so the technology substitutes this institutional trust. So now we can remit one to each other using these blockchain-powered currencies. I feel that, this is one of the first real use cases.
Okay.
Rather than a prediction, more like a hope, I guess. There are, like correctly pointed out, like cryptocurrencies definitely drive blockchain applications, and for very good reason. My hope is that within the next 1-2 years, there will be a suitable cryptocurrency that is user-friendly enough, or blockchain application that's user-friendly enough for the people who are financially illiterate to use. So right now, a lot of cryptocurrencies have a very high knowledge barrier for people to join. Even though we say that, it's completely peer-to-peer, it's, like you be your own bank and things like that, but only people who are able to understand these kind of things, understand how to implement digital security, for example, are able to use it to its full potential. So my hope is that within the next 1-2 years, something that even somebody from the lower income group, or even people who are refugees, for example, can use it easily.
Fantastic. So I'm going to open questions to the floors. So, okay, yes, we have one gentleman here.
Hi.
Hello.
First of all, thank you to all the speakers for being here. So big round of applause for them. My name is Jason, aka Vandal. I come from the music industry. I've been involved in the music industry for many years, and I might be the only one here in the music industry, as a lot of people here are in the tech industry, and I kind of fell in love with the idea of blockchain and the revolution that it can bring, especially to the music industry by decentralizing. And I wanted to address this question to Matej, because I did see your slide about dissent music, and I just wanted to see maybe if you could elaborate a bit more on that for me.
Okay, so concerning decent music, thank you for your question. Anyway, it's maybe we should applaud for the question again. So we get into the music industry. So basically, we have two business lines in this. We have one which is B2C, and one of them is B2B. So for the B2C business line or business strategy, we have a website called decentgo.com, which is currently in beta version. And we would have a content publishing feature on this website within few weeks. And this website basically allows any kind of artist or the producer of music to upload his or her own music on this website and sell it for a fee or distribute it for free. Yeah, we are not taking any fees from this platform, as our interest is basically to populate our platform, decentralized, decent platform with content. And this is not only for music, but this is one of those where people can publish music. Of course, we have desktop clients, as I showed on my slides, some of the screenshots. So this is downloadable from GitHub, and one can do it on his or her own desktop computer, just to upload it there. So this is B2C, and for B2B, we have some platforms with music, and those are putting their content on top of Decent. Yeah? So they are going to be integrated through our API, and the content will be stored on Decent. And why are they doing this? So basically the reason is that they are paying for the storage. So it's with this decentralized storage is cheaper, and of course they also get an additional marketing and sales channel. There are a lot of challenges I didn't address, especially in the music industry with copyrights, with licensing and so on. But of course we can elaborate further if you are interested.
Yeah, okay, definitely. Maybe I can speak with you afterwards?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, can we have anyone else?
Hi, thanks for this. My name is Caleb. I'm actually from the trust and corporate services background. Actually, I think this question would be more targeted towards Alexandra. With regards to I believe you have mentioned earlier you had some experience with trying to get some of the KYC, maybe some of the financial institutions to use blockchain. Could you perhaps share with us what your experience had been with these financial institutions, as well as how do you see blockchain being relevant to the KYC or the AML industry?
So I think that identity comes out a lot when it comes to blockchain implementation and most important use cases. And there is a real issue. I mean, who's managing our identity? How can we share it? How can we use it? And definitely, there is a potential for blockchain to secure your data and to also give you the ownership of it. So, which means that you could share it to whoever you want at any point of time. Okay, and it would be recorded into a single database, and it would be available for you to share it. Now, to speak about KYC and banking, for instance, it's I think when we talk about banking, the first impression I had is obviously there is this question of how much cost do I reduce using KYC? What are the problems I have implementing KYC between me and other banks? Do I really want to share my clients' data to other banks? These are, the biggest questions that comes up. So when I was smiling earlier talking about that COO of that bank in Hong Kong telling me, I don't want to share my data to the other banks, and everybody is laughing around him because he doesn't even understand that blockchain is about sharing data to make it more secure. So again, it's about democratization. How do you change the mindset of these people? I think they adopted like some, fintech labs, etc. And they all have some CTOs now. I don't want to criticize them, but somehow these CTOs, they don't even know what they do sometimes. So there's a lot of budget that is invested into these banks. There are a few banks, especially a small one, and some e-banks from Germany, for instance, or Scandinavia. These guys are really trying to implement and to use blockchain for their clients. It's either for linking, the cryptocurrency space to their clients in order for them to use the crypto in their bank accounts, or it's for KYC. So the way I see it, it's going to come first from the small players or the governments. Singapore being one of them that is really pushing for it, MAS being like one of the most, bullish regulator towards blockchain, if we can say it this way. So let's see what's going to happen. I'm very optimistic about Southeast Asia. I think there is a real, topic about financial social inclusion, and Singapore might be the one pushing it around. But I'm very sure Malaysia, our own Rene and Suraya and everybody has a role to play in this.
Okay. Okay, so we have. Thank you. We have another questions from.
Good evening. My name is Siti. I'm from Bank Negara Malaysia, which is the central bank of Malaysia. My interest is in the development of Islamic finance. I think there is not yet dedicated blockchain projects on Islamic finance that I know of. Could the panel enlighten on how or what can be done, for us to accelerate development of blockchain solutions for Islamic finance? As you know, the Islamic finance, the principle is on risk sharing as opposed to risk transfer in the conventional space. Finance here means insurance, investment, takaful or Islamic insurance, investment, equity-based investment, and financing, not just remittance, but also equity funding of projects in the real sector. So that's my, if the panel could just give.
Okay, so I guess access will be the right point to actually explain. So one of the things, this is very interesting. In fact, just to share that MDec is also very keen, and we actually have a focus group to look into Islamic market. This is what we've been advised as well by our digital economy advisor, which is Mr. Jack Ma. So also one of the reasons why we actually really want to go into the Islamic market. So on your specific on the blockchain, I guess Suraya can help on this one.
Thank you. There was one platform that uses blockchain application. Well, it's more Bitcoin-centric. It's called Blossom. In 2015, 2014, if I'm not mistaken, it kind of went nowhere, but it's basically a micro-lending platform based in Indonesia, started up by a, if I'm not mistaken, a foreign national who converted into Islam. But I have heard no news since then. So that was one application, a micro-lending platform. I'm in touch with INSIF, the Islamic Finance University in UM. They are in the early stages of understanding in Bitcoin, but as I understand it, blockchain, the technology should be applicable, whatever is applicable in conventional finance should be applicable for Islamic finance as well. So, but I look forward to continue working with you about this topic. Thank you.
Anyone want to add?
I think we talked about SME. In terms of credit scoring, there's a lot to be done, and especially in underdeveloped countries. In Africa, Malaysia is developed, but I guess has a lot of room for improvement. I think it's even in Malaysia, I heard that Rabobank, that Deutsche Bank, they made a proof of concept where basically they were helping SMEs to use blockchain for credit scoring information. So with more details, I would see supply chain logistics and supply chain finance could become a large ecosystems. So if you create, I don't know, I'm not in the central banks, there must be a fintech regulatory sandbox in Malaysia, and this is what I've heard. I don't have the details, but if this sandbox is helping SMEs, not only banks, to try the proof of concept, have some advantages, some reimbursement like Singapore is doing, for instance, paying part of the POCs. It's a good sign for these SMEs to try and to work with startups and have even more startups that are relevant in Malaysia. That use case, very quickly, it's about supply chain logistics. How do you make sure that supply chain is traceable and secure? And how do you link supply chain logistics with supply chain finance and credit scoring, etc. So if you are able to prove what you do with your products and how reliable you are, and if you can rely on a platform where you can post basically some of your documents, I don't know, letter of credit, factoring, etc., then you might have some other parties on the other side that ask for financing. And they can trust it because it's based on blockchain. So it's just a use case I mentioned like right now like this, but I think that the first thing is to give the message to the startups, the SMEs, and not only to the banks, that you guys are here to basically help them in terms of regulatory steps, to go through less steps than what is required actually. Even if I don't have all the information, that's what Hong Kong, Singapore are trying to do. But I think Malaysia can have the capability to be even more flexible and do better than Singapore. There's no reason you would be following Singapore, right?
Miss City, yes, we have talked before the event shortly, and I agree fully that Malaysia should do a Islamic fintech blockchain hackathon to come out with ideas and then pursue them, because this is an underserved market segment, and the blockchain technology is able to disrupt even there. But it needs the sparks, the ideas, the people to do it. The Access Blockchain Association will be very happy to support such a hackathon, and we should talk more with Suraya and with you later. Yes. Yes.
Completely forgot. One more addition. I know there's a couple of startups that on gold. As investment, Muslims like gold, right? Gold dinar and all that. So I know Hello Gold is Sharia compliant. I also know a couple of, whether or not they're legit, I don't know, but they are startups offering cryptocurrencies tethered to the gold price. So they market themselves as being Sharia compliant. Whether they are or not, I don't know in the back end, but I know that but Hello Gold is Sharia compliant.
Okay, thank you. So can we have the last questions? Okay.
Two questions. One on smart contracts. So do you need to program or code the smart contract for every permutations in the future? For example, if you have lands, you can actually theoretically sell and buy land almost forever. So do you need to code that into the smart contract, or there's a boundary to the smart contract and you have to renew it after a certain period of time? So secondly is, can you use blockchain without Bitcoin? And similarly, can you choose Ethereum? Can you use Ethereum without Ether? So I mean, similarly, so they are a pair at the moment. So can you just use the technology and not the whatever contract, currency or store of value?
The first part of the question I cannot answer. I'm not a coder. The second part of the question is that some blockchain platforms are tied to specific cryptocurrencies. For example, a Bitcoin network, you have to use Bitcoin, you have no choice. If you want to build applications on top of the Ethereum platform, you need Ether because that's the gas or the currency that's used to create that kind of applications. So I will pass to the rest.
You need this currency, the fuel for the transactions. Yeah, you need the fuel for making transactions. To send somebody 1 Bitcoin, you need a little bit of Bitcoin. Maybe just to add to this one, possibly your question was even touching into the other direction, asking whether you can use the Bitcoin blockchain network for something else than transferring Bitcoins. Was it even that question or not much? Just not.
Yes, possible, but also, you know, in order, I mean, from what I've known, observed, so every time you want to use blockchain or Ethereum, you have to use the coin that attached to that particular protocol.
So,
right?
so then, yeah, regarding that one, Suraya's answer is already sufficient. In order to use the Bitcoin network, you must have a micro amount of Bitcoin because you must pay the fees towards the network in that blockchain native coin, token. Yes. Second question regarding the smart contracts. When you program a smart contract, you define the variables. It's variables, it's conditions, it's if, else, loops. So you don't need to recode and reprogram. You just run it once, and then this thing will run in an unstoppable manner, which is good and bad in the same time. Yes. So if you want to update and change the code, for example, this is one of the downsides of the Ethereum network, then you need to trash the old thing or tell everybody, hey, don't use this anymore because now is a new contract online, use the new one. This is because you cannot simply update, you cannot bug fix, you need to run a new one. And this, about this feature, I understood this only later by one important person of the NEM community explained me this thing. This is what NEM is doing differently, has a different approach regarding running the smart contracts. For Ethereum, it is carved in stone, more or less. But once it's carved, it runs. Yeah? As long as you don't change the parameters or the rules, you don't need to reprogram it. Okay. Yes?
So we have an extra time. I saw the gentleman someone here.
Hello. Hi. Good evening. I'm Hari from School of Data Sciences, Perdana University. I also run my startup. So my startup is focused on trying to improve the supply chain management system by porting it to the cloud. Right. So how do we apply blockchain technology in trying to increase trust between all the multiple parties, even regulators as we speak? How do we do that? I mean, I try to address this question to probably Rene.
Okay, I take it from here, yeah? Okay, so firstly, possibly we should talk more after the event, but I only shortly mention that the blockchain technology allows to create trust there where there is no trust or little trust. And now, as I guess you do supply chain tracking, people must trust you and your database and your hosting provider and your backup solution and all these things. So people need to trust you. As long as you get people's trust, you can run your business without any blockchain. If you want to enhance this level of trust and possibly even use this as a added value of your service, that I do XYZ on the blockchain or powered by blockchain, this is the trick I am applying for LuxTag. Yeah? If you want to do that, it's possible to link your data collection, your data keeping, and even the data serving, either completely put it on the blockchain or only link it by putting fingerprints of the data to the blockchain and using a decentralized backup solution, something to further secure and enhance the trust in your services. But there's many different approaches which now it needs us to brainstorm a bit amongst ourselves, I think. Yes.
Sure. Hi, my name is Junyi and I run a legal tech startup by the name of CanLaw. So we help people look for lawyers. And I think this particular event has been really useful for, I guess, highlighting that the use cases for blockchain go far beyond cryptocurrencies. And I think along those lines, I would be interested to know, and this question is directed to Suraya and Atasha, what are the sort of initiatives that are happening within Malaysia that we can get plugged into, that, or rather, what are the initiatives that are helping to proliferate the use of blockchain in other industries above and beyond fintech that maybe even my startup can get involved in. So that's the question for Suraya and Atasha.
I'll start first, if that's okay. The type of blockchain platform that you want to pick depends on the developers that you have on your site. There are varying degrees of difficulties to use these platforms, and it depends on what your developers can or cannot manage. So to answer your question about opportunities specific to Malaysia that's coming up, I mentioned before, but there will be a blockchain center coming up, launching in November this year. And that is completely funded by NEM Foundation. That's one type of blockchain platform. And they have seed money as well for pre-stage, I don't know what stage startup, but early stage startups. So that's one avenue that you can look for. Other types of opportunities would be different types of educational centers, academies, conferences, meetups, things of that nature. Thank you.
And for MDec, are there any initiatives that we should be aware of? Yeah.
Okay, so now I become a speaker. So MDec is, from MDec standpoint, we started to work also with the NEM blockchain. So what we do is we have a digital hub. This digital hub is meant to interlink with partners. So what we do is we go out and meet the startups. So if, let's say, we have reasonable demands for us to have specific focus on blockchain, we definitely will bring more partners, and Access should be one of our main partners very soon also when it comes to blockchain, because it has been recognized. So at MDec, we don't create initiative. We connect the dots and we bring relevant partners to support at the stage that you are in. So for example, if the stage that you are in is just to get awareness, and then we bring programs related to awareness, or you need something more technical, then we do something more technical. On the other hand is, we also work with corporates. And we also realize that corporates have also demand and also the appetite to also explore blockchain. Hence, this is where we're going to bring our entrepreneurs or problem solvers who have the knowledge in blockchain to actually help the corporates. But that is actually a matching between demand and supply. So that's what we do from MDec standpoint. And at the moment, the blockchain initiative is not something that blockchain beyond fintech is not something that we are aggressive for now. So for now, we are focusing on fintech. We are focusing on big data initiative and e-commerce mainly for the our digital free trade zone.
Thank you.
We have questions in front actually. Okay, can we take this as a final question? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, this is second last, and that gentleman will be the last questions. Okay.
Hi guys, my name is Ben. I'm a VC. Yeah, little one. Now I got a cheeky. Security, number one. Ever growing, organic. It cannot be broken. But I'm just figuring out, right? And I just want to know from you guys. Can we disrupt economy with blockchain? For example, security numbers, our IC number, can we become part of a blockchain on behalf of the government? So when people are being categorized as blockchain and the transaction is by the millions or the billions, and can this be implemented to create the future of digital economy, where one currency can be valued, or a universal currency? Is that the future?
If I understood well the question, I'm actually not, but I think that I got your point. What I would say is, if you have this perspective of blockchain being the economy tomorrow, there's some ways to go for sure, and the rise in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, Ethers, etc., are a good sign. But today we still cannot use Bitcoin everywhere in shops or to make business, etc. So there is a huge way to go. We cannot talk about blockchain being the economy right now for sure. There are some countries like Japan, Russia, they're adopting it in some shops or airline companies to buy flight tickets. So it's one sign that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are getting democratized. The other one might be from governments. I know PBOC in China, they are working on a blockchain POC where they will issue Chinese yuan, for instance. And I mean, think about it. If they issue Chinese yuan and the Chinese use WeChat and Alipay to make all the transactions, then it makes sense for that economy to possibly use blockchain. And there is some downside, think about trustability. They will exactly know what people do with their money, etc. But you're a VC, right? So you might have heard about the ICO rise, etc. There are more investment today made through ICO on blockchain projects than through VCs. I mean, it's the first time it happened. It's crazy, right? So I think where VCs can have a role to play, it's trying to have a look at that process and see why VCs are somehow getting disrupted. I think that there might be some sort of risk in the ICO process or bubbles going on for sure. But I think VCs should move on right now and try to see why all these startups, they feel like going through a VC can be a pain and can be, losing the control on their company, their management, etc. I think it's going to disrupt it positively. I think that's my opinion.
Okay, I just would like to add, in order to answer your question with one word, and the word is yes, and the question is only when, because blockchain is something like, internet, right? Internet in 1993 or 4 or 5 or something like this, the World Wide Web. So blockchain is something fixing the internet, right? So it's only the question how much time it will take until it disrupts, all the processes you mentioned, and just to liaise on what Alex started about VC. I've been doing an ICO last year, and I talked to many VCs, my personal, acquaintances, and I've been introduced to many VCs in Europe, China, US, and at that time, at the end of 2016, it was no way, or practically no way, for a VC to invest into an ICO, into coins, into tokens. Only some few smaller ones I'm saying, a fund size of single-digit million US dollars, they wanted to invest, few tens or few hundreds of thousands. into ICOs. But today it changed a lot. You can see, in Silicon Valley, we can see, I don't know, Winklevoss Capital, all of them are investing into ICOs and blockchain, so not only in China, not only in Asia, but also in the US, also in Europe. So it's changing very fast, and the question is only when, not whether, but when.
Hi, my name is Adil. I work at one of the blockchain startups here in Magic. So the question to you guys is, how do you see blockchain handling the issue of scale, especially when you say fintech, right? You're talking about millions and millions of transactions a second. And blockchain essentially is connected across a vast variety of nodes, and this data needs to be replicated across all the nodes. So we were just having my discussion with a friend over here that I have, and then how do you see blockchain handling the scale of transactions as such, right? Because it can never be compared to a database, and that's why fintech companies go for databases naturally. But then if you were to bring blockchain into the equation, how do we handle the scale of, say, millions of transactions? Do you guys have any perspective on that, or any sort of private blockchain platforms that are being developed for among the finance companies and banks for this use?
Okay, so if I can, I'm not a fintech expert here, so I have to say our blockchain is not in the fintech area, but the question is about scalability, right? If I understood well, how can blockchains, let's say public chains, handle, let's say, millions of transactions per second or something like this, yeah? So the answer is basically, if you take Bitcoin, for a long time, Bitcoin used to have about 7 transactions per second. So if you deploy Bitcoin on all financial transactions that happen in Kuala Lumpur, for instance, in this city, it just would collapse. Yeah, it improved a little bit now, but for example, you take also Ethereum. It suffers from similar problems. But one of the solutions is to use another consensus algorithm, also valid for the public chains. If you take Ethereum, if you take Bitcoin, it's proof of work, POW. You have miners, computing some hashes that it doesn't make basically much sense for the society. Only basically to prove that I have done some work, to be able to participate in the voting process. So. But there are better ways, there is proof of stake, and one of the probably the best ones now is a delegated proof of stake, which creates kind of a federal organization when you have some nodes and some supernodes, and the nodes are voting for the supernodes, and only a few supernodes are running the blockchain, yes, and basically the way of let's say rating, or we're talking about the reputation, so public of rating those supernodes, depends on the actual latency, right, on the number of misses. So for example, with Decent, we are using a delegated proof of stake. We have 5 seconds blocks worldwide, but at the moment we have about 100 miners, kind of witnesses of the transaction. BitShares is using something similar, BitShares, Graphene, and so on. There are many implementations. I'm actually not sure what NEM is using, but it could be something similar maybe. So this is one of the way how to handle scalability, to get to tens of thousands of transactions. So if we talking about databases, for example, Cassandra and so on, we get maybe 2 million transactions per second, or something like this. But it's centralized. There is the Paxos, protocol to solve the Byzantine. Byzantine tolerance. We can go into fault tolerance here. So there is the fault tolerance, so we can get a lot of technical details. But I think that the theoretical limits of blockchains are probably in tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands as of today. It's hard to get to a million TPS. So. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes, NEM uses a similar consensus algorithm, which is a kind of a delegated proof of stake, even taking other values into consideration, the proof of importance to the network of that node. Nevertheless, these public networks have a limitation, and now it was said correctly, the latency is the issue here. When you have a network growing to a certain number of nodes, which you want to have this security of the network, that you can't have this 51% attacks on the network. When you run a public network, you have limitations. Private networks, these permissioned blockchain networks, are a possible solution. I heard the term federated blockchains, where there are blockchain networks run for a certain purpose. Yes, like I kind of consider the decent network as a blockchain network with a special purpose. From the bigger view, because even I myself didn't come into contact too much with Decent before, but a general purpose network would be probably Ethereum. Yes, and that is not scalable sufficiently now to use for everyday payments and all the transactions we would like it to do. But people are forking these blockchain networks and are creating improved private chains, like sister networks, and you more or less even have a tutorial to follow. How do I create my own private chain? You link up a minimum of 3 to 4 computers and define the algorithms, and you have your own blockchain. And this one, in your own one little data center, hey, you can have a latency of less than 1 millisecond, and you can do almost maybe hundreds of thousands of transactions. There are private chain implementations of the NEM network. It's called the Midjin network. This one is something what I am recommending to corporations with very big demand for transactions per second. But this is what I would say to the solution for the scalability: federated chains, permissioned chains, run by corporations, run by governments, for that sake.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to wrap up this, I'm sorry, I see a few other hands. I'm sorry, I have to end this session. So find your opportunities before you get disrupted. So big round of applause to our speakers. Thank you so much, guys, for spending your time. Have a good day.